My name is Mel Tonasket. I'm Vice Chairman of the Colville Tribal Council. The Colville Indian Reservation is a little over 1.3 million acres. About 800,000 acres of it is prime timberland. The eastern border is the Columbia River as it goes north and south, and the western border is the Okanagan River as it goes north and south. And our southern border is the Columbia River, which includes Cooley Dam and Chief Joe Dam. We're made up of 12 tribes that have been moved to this reservation from as far away as Moses Lake, Wenatchee, who have merged together as a confederation. And we've reorganized ourselves into one body called the Colville Confederation Tribes. Well, this is the second largest reservation in the state of Washington. I guess that 1.3+ million acres is a little bigger than the state of Delaware. So when you think about it like that, maybe we should have a congressman, from our state. But that's the volume of work that we do. We're probably the biggest employer, both for Okanagan and Ferry County. We started out basically a fishing tribe. The Columbia River was our main food supply. Kettle Falls up north from here was a major fishing site, and it was a trading commodity for us, and that didn't really change until after Cooley Dam started being built. We still had salmon chiefs. We still had the old system of governments by chiefs and protocols until Cooley Dam. And then whole towns were moved for Cooley Dam. They moved the town of Keller, just picked it up and moved it up away from the river without replacing any of the infrastructure for it. That's how the Colville tribes were treated back in those days. And we never had anything. The Bureau of Indian Affairs had one cop, they had one social worker, one education specialist. Later today I'll show you the clinic of what used to be a hospital where I was born and what we have today. So we've came a long ways. One of the important things for people to know is at one time, originally our reservation was 3 times as big as it is now, maybe 4 times as big as it is now. It ran all the way up to the Canadian border, went up to the middle of the Cascade Mountain Range to Lake Chelan, included Lake Chelan. They found silver up around Loomis and Nighthawk, and we lost that piece of the reservation. And then they found gold up around Republic, and we lost the north half of our reservation, so we're down to the size that we have now. Chief Tonasket was one of the chiefs at the time that they took the north half of our reservation from, and was one of the X's on that session. Well, that bothers me, right? And they probably had no choice. I understand that. And so my career has been making up, in my mind, in my heart, making up for that. So we've been trying to develop, we've been trying to improve the resources and the sources and employment and education for our people. Let me go way back. When I came out of the service, I went to work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the Colvilles. And I worked in what was called Individual Indian Monies Account, IIM. We handled all the money for land sales, leases, timber sales and stuff for our tribal members. And we wrote all of the checks here. We were scheduled to be terminated right after the Klamath tribe was terminated. And the BIA team that terminated the Klamaths was sent to Colville, and that's who I worked for. Our tribe was split, some termination, some non-termination. Our council was dominated by a terminationist council. We had majority. And there was a lady by the name of Lucy Covington, who was my hero. Really fought hard to save this reservation, along with some others, and Shirley Palmer from here. Both of them was from this district, Nispelem. And I got to see how that process was being done. And I got in trouble with the superintendent for giving advice to tribal members that you don't have to sign this paper to whatever the Bureau of Indian Affairs wants you to do, you don't have to unless you want to. And he called me in his office and threatened me. So I quit. And I moved to Omak, where I said I would never live in my life again because of the racism. And I started going to city councils, chambers of commerce, county commissioners meetings, challenging them. How come we make up 10% of the population of Okanagan County and 90% of the people in jail are my people? How can that be? How come we in the schools have 99% dropout rate from freshman year to senior year? How come there's no Indians, no Colvilles working in any of your stores in your towns here? And I just started challenging. I had no answers, just challenging. And Lucy Covington asked me to run for council opposing termination. And I did, because it was on a ticket that I firmly supported to oppose termination. So I got elected, slim margin, but I got elected in what was the leadership area of termination, Omak district, where I still live today. And Lucy took me under her wing. And the important thing for me is the first motion that I made as a councilman on our first day in session in July of 1970 was to remove Elmo Miller, our superintendent, from the Colville Indian Reservation, the same guy that threatened me, right? And it passed. So he was gone. That's how I got started in this. And then Lucy sent me to Olympia to learn how the state works and to meet people and the systems and who was the shakers and movers. I did that for a year. My second year, they made me chairman of the tribal council because we got clear majority then. And Lucy started taking me back to Washington, D.C. And my job was to keep notes and pay attention to who she's talking to, how she's talking to them, how they react, what their personalities are like. She really got into the finite parts of lobbying. And I did that for a year, just keeping notes. And then my third year, she said, "You're chairman, you're going to do the talking now." So she educated me. I had to debrief her every night going to D.C. of what I seen, how I interpreted, how she managed one person different from another person on the same subject. I needed to be able to see that. We had 6 bills. We had 6 bills in Congress in 1970 when I got elected. That's how close we were. And they didn't know, the termination side didn't know that Lucy had one congressman that these bills had to go through to go any farther. And that's where she had it stopped, and they never found that spot. So from that aspect, she pretty much single-handedly saved this reservation. So she's our hero. And I hope we name the new building that we're building, our new headquarters, after her. Then after that, we'd go to meetings. We'd go to the National Congress of American Indians meetings. I never seen a action on the floor. She always put me into the resolutions committee. She said that's where you know what the issues are for every tribe that belongs to the organization. And then I was doing that for a couple of years, and then finally I got a visit when I was in resolutions committee at NCAI saying the Northwest affiliated tribes voted to run me as president of that national organization, which office is in Washington, D.C., which surprised me. And I said, no, I'm not ready for that. And they kind of said, you know, if you're going to be a leader and your people want you to lead, you lead or get out of the business. So I'll be darned if I didn't win it in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I wound up president of the National Congress of American Indians at the same time I was chairman of the Colville Tribal Council. And that just really opened up the doors of Congress for us and for the administration. It wouldn't be uncommon to get a call from the White House or from the Vice President wanting to talk about some national issue that affected all tribes, and where would the National Congress of American Indians stand on it. I mean, we got to meet with every secretariat that we needed to meet with, Interior, Labor, Housing, I mean, all of them that we needed to meet with, Agriculture. And it was just It's unbelievable, the life that I got to lead, that I didn't go and say, I want to be that. It's almost like I felt like a piece of meat that said, here, go do this, you know, and I would go do that. But I had good people. I had excellent leaders around me, excellent leaders. Joe Delacruz from the Quinault. I had an excellent executive director at NCAI, Chuck Trimble from Ogallala Sioux. I had Lucy Covington, of course, Roger Jim from the Yakima. I just had good leaders. Ron Allen, that you probably know or you will know from the little tribe over on the coast. They were a good team that we could sit and dissect issues, whether it be legislative or litigation or administrative policy. I mean, it was, because you can't do it alone. I mean, you're foolish if you think that you're a leader and you can make those changes by yourself. When I came in 1970, we had one cop, one judge, one game warden, one enrollment officer, one executive director, and one secretary. We had more councilmen, 14 councilmen, than we had in our whole administration, right? That's what we had. We had no businesses. We had no government contracts. We had no government grants or state grants. We had nothing. So when you look around today, what we've been able to build through those 40 years, you see to our left a new jail, that we have contracts with other tribes to bring their prisoners in when they need it. We have a new clinic that we built with tribal money, and we've built 3 of them already on the reservation with tribal money. That's an IHS responsibility. We're the biggest employer in all of the, so I have seen unbelievable change. And let me put it this way. I went to a high school program where Chief Dan George, the movie actor, was at and was talking to. And he said something that just stuck deep in me. He said, you know that we marvel that man has traveled to the moon. Well, if that's far, I've traveled farther. I was born in the days of bows and arrows. And I've referred to what it was like in 1930, what we had with our fishing. That was our commodity, that was our trade commodity and income. So he said, I was born in the days of bows and arrows, and today I live in the day of the atom bomb. And that's a distance far greater than a trip to the moon in one lifetime. And that's how I feel. It's been an unbelievable journey from nothing to where we are today in the span of 40 years. What countries and what governments make that sort of an advancement in that short a period of time? So where do we go? We will always have, as long as we have land, and as long as we have water, and as long as we have special rights and privileges guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States, we will have people that envy that and want to weaken that. We will never get another full-blown termination bill to do away with us, but we'll get what we call piecemeal termination, where Congress, in their ignorance, will give, through a legislative action, the state of Washington in our case, some authority or legal right that weakens us, whether it be jurisdiction, whether it be water, whether it be child welfare. I mean, it can be any kinds of things that takes a little bit of our sovereignty away. That's piecemeal termination. And I think that the challenge is to get and to keep our young people who are coming up into the system, into tribal politics and into leadership and into law school. Keep them aware of the challenges of protecting that sovereignty, because it's clear that tribes have this special relationship with the United States government through the Constitution. When you have treaties with the United States, that's supreme law of the land. That's not just an act of Congress, that's supreme law of the land unless they change the Constitution. You have situation right now in the state of Washington, always have had, where they have an enabling act to become a state. And they had to promise that they wouldn't interfere with tribes and tribal government and tribal rights. But they do it every day. They do it every day, ignoring their own enabling act that allowed them, that they had to agree to become a state. And unless our leadership studies that history and studies the court cases and the legislative history that brought us to where we are today, we'll go backwards. And we can't afford that. We've come too far. Today, we've been able to build 3 clinics. We're looking at a joint venture to build the 4th clinic in Omak that is going to be over a 35,000-foot facility that is going to have 123 or so staff in it. We've built our own convalescent center. We were the first tribe in the Northwest to have our own tribal convalescent center. We have a brand new jail. Our jail was just a little tiny facility that was condemned really for a number of years. That is a state-of-the-art facility that has the capability to even deal with youth whenever we get to that level. We are currently, our old headquarters, tribal headquarters, burnt down, and we're building a 4-story, I think a 4-story government center, which is going to house all of our programs that we have today. And we have all of the programs that a government would have, from child welfare to mental health to alcohol, drug, to education, to everything, housing, everything that any government would have to be a sovereign entity. We've got 800,000 acres of timberland that we have to manage. It's like having a garden. You have to manage it, or else it gets old, it gets sick, or it'll burn up. So we have a top-flight forestry program here that even counties envy and are asking us to consider taking over, with their support, management of the National Forest Service lands north of us in the north half. We have a roads division. We're constantly working on roads. We have sanitation program where we do the wells and the septic tank systems for housing development and individual homes. We have a school that used to be a Jesuit boarding school, and when the church, Catholic Church, wanted to give it to us, we built a whole new school, and it's a boarding school. Not only for Colvilles, but other tribes have students that come here every once in a while also. We have a contract with the Omak School District to provide things that we can't provide, and then we provide to them cultural classes and language classes. We have so much going on that it's just it's hard to keep up, really. And we're still growing and learning. Earlier, we totally survived off of timber sales. And when the timber market went, we had 2 mills, a plywood plant and a pine plant that we sold boards. When that market died, we didn't have anything really. And so we got into gaming more. Gaming has allowed us to hire more people. It allowed us to have a pot of money that we can supplement mental health, education. We put in hundreds of thousands of dollars into college and trade schools, 2-year programs up through doctorate degrees. And we do that because we have a source of income now that's pretty steady, not like it used to be, but pretty steady, that allows us to take the other tribal money that is tax exempt and develop the buildings like the jail, like the clinic, like our tribal office. It has opened the door for us for continued development. My dream is to be that fat old man sitting on my porch, confident that the young people that we've educated and trained will continue to protect this land, its sovereignty, and continue to grow and advance and improve our lives. My dream is that, and it's always been, all of us I think that's been in tribal government, that we want to make education available to anybody that wants to go, whether it be college or trade school. We would like to hire as many people as we can here as we develop, but right now we don't have the capability. It's our dream. It's our dream that when we build all of our facilities, our clinics, that we will have our own doctors, our own nurses, our own psychiatrists, our own psychologists, our own mental health. We already got tribal mental health, MSW people working. That's my dream, is to continue to develop the human capacity to continue to let our tribe grow and prosper. Because we're not going to get more land, really, but we will have to be able to protect it and develop it. I've talked to most of our schools around here, talking to classes and Indian Awareness Weeks, asking them to look at what life is like. And you can cut this out if you want, but when I was a little bit younger, I used to work out a lot, and I'd get done talking and I'd ask, is there any questions? And some little kid in the room would say, yeah, how did you get those muscles? Or, yeah, would you flex for us? Things that had nothing to do with the subject. And I could turn it to them and say, I got this by working hard, by committing to take care of my body so that I can be a healthy old man one day, right? So how many of you like to play basketball? And they'll raise their hands, and I'll say, you think you could play basketball if you didn't practice dribbling, if you didn't practice shooting, if you didn't practice running? No? Okay, that's life. How many of you like to play baseball? I'd go through the same thing, and I could get them to admit that they had to commit and set goals to get to where they want to be, and that's what I said I did, just for my body. So when I get old and a fat old man sitting on my porch, and I know you've committed those goals to improve your life so you will be successful, you'll be taking care of me. That's how that came about, right? And it started with a bicep, basically, but I use it a lot. I use that same saying a lot. I just would like to be able to be a fat old man sitting on my porch, having confidence that you young people are going to have the skills and knowledge to take care of us. And then I've served my purpose in life.